All right, we're back. We just finished the filling. The cake is out. It's cooled down, and I transferred it right out of the pan, right onto the counter here. It's still got the parchment paper underneath it because we'll need it for when we make our cuts. Now you can see here the filling is just so nice, light and fluffy. Letting that mix on that high setting is just what we need, okay? We need all the air into our filling that we can. We're not gonna use this right away, just in a little minute. So I'm gonna put that over here. And in the meantime, we're gonna make our cuts. Now, I've gone ahead, I got a circle cutter here. This is about a 2-inch, yeah, 2-inch circle cutter here. And I'm just gonna go around and make cuts right out of the cake. Now I'm gonna try to get fairly close to each other just because I want to be able to use as much cake as possible. And what I'm gonna do is try to stay away from the very edges just so that it has a nice cakey center and it doesn't have the crust, okay? So it's kind of like the ultimate peanut butter and jelly sandwich that you have when you're a kid and you tell your mom to cut off the crust. Yeah, well that's what we're doing. We're cutting off the cake crust. All right, so I can get about 4 across, looks like. And it's funny because every cake mix, it kind of comes out different. Like there's a dip down in here where it's not, it didn't rise as much. It looks like it kind of came up here more. So, you know, those cake levelers probably are a good idea. I just don't use them, but that doesn't mean that they're not like helpful because I probably should use them. I just don't. Usually when I'm decorating a cake, I cut off the top and then that levels it out. So anyway, those cake levelers probably would work really good in this instance because we didn't cut off the top. All right, so I was able to get 24 out of that. All right, so now what we're gonna do is I'm gonna transfer these out onto just a big dish just so that I can work with them a little bit better. And we're gonna go ahead and fill our pastry bag and then we'll be ready to fill them. All right, folks, we're back. I cut them all out just as I said, and I just transferred them over to another just clean sheet of parchment paper just so that we can kind of work a little bit better and a little more freely, okay? So I've gone ahead and I've put a decorative tip on my cake decorating bag. Now, if you don't have one of these, you can use like a freezer bag, like a gallon-sized freezer bag and just snip off the tip of it. It's gonna be a little difficult to get in there, but if you make that tip, you know, pretty small, you should be able to just slide it right in there if you don't have a decorating, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead, I've got the tip on here, and I'm just gonna go ahead and put in some of the filling into my pastry bag. These are so handy, and they're really inexpensive. If you don't do a lot of cake decorating, but you wanna give like this recipe and maybe some others a try where you have to use the filling, just go pick one up at one of the stores. They're just super cheap. All right, so we're gonna go ahead, and I've got all my circles cut out, and some of them are a little bit smaller, okay? So they're not gonna be quite as thick, and others are gonna be thicker, so that's okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the tip and insert it until it touches right into the cake, and gently squeeze. And as I squeeze, I'm gonna pull it out. And there you go, there's the filling, okay? Now you're gonna be able to feel that puff up if you hold it like this. And when you insert your tip and you go ahead and squeeze, you're gonna feel that filling kind of puff up and it's gonna separate a little bit. Now you don't wanna get too much because you don't want it to break apart, all right? But everybody loves filling. Now you can kind of go back and forth a little bit like this just so that it gets a little bit more if you like extra filling like me. And you're just gonna keep going, and you just, like I said, you're just gonna keep pulling it out as you go. Now I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna keep doing all this, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna make the chocolate that goes over the top. So don't go away, I'm gonna keep filling these, go get something to drink or a little bit of a snack, and then come back. These are really making me hungry. I tell you what, I can't wait to have one of these. They're just my absolute favorite. So don't go away. All right, I've got all of my little ring dings, the cakes all filled, and they are just perfect. Now I had quite a bit of filling left over, like I said. This filling mixture would fill way more than 24, but I always like to have extra just in case. And also just so that I can have some stored in the refrigerator in case you want to make a double batch or whatever you wanted to do, or frost some cupcakes later on. They are the perfect filling for anything, okay? So I've gone ahead, I've gotten 4 cups of semi-sweet chocolate morsels in my glass container, okay? And to this I added 1 full can of sweetened condensed milk, and that is 14 ounces. So 14 ounces, a full can went in here. And what I did was I just kind of mixed it up and then started microwaving it at 30-second intervals, taking it out, stirring it up. And then when it kind of got really clumpy, it's gonna look like hard fudge, okay, after a few turns. You're gonna go ahead and your evaporated milk that you had before, you're gonna go ahead and you're gonna add a 1/4 cup. And then you're gonna mix it around, microwave it for a few more times, 30-second intervals, take it out, and then right before it starts to smooth out a little bit, add 1 more 1/2 cup. 1 more 1/4 cup, not 1/2 cup. 1 more 1/4 cup of the evaporated milk. So you have a 1/2 cup total, okay? So if you keep stirring it and keep melting that at 30-second intervals, it's gonna come out nice and creamy. See how nice and flowy that is? Now if it doesn't come out like that, you wanna keep microwaving because it's not quite done. You wanna make sure that all the morsels are melted. All right, that's key. And it's nice and shiny. So if you wanna do this in a double boiler so you can watch it a little bit better, definitely go for it, okay? So the last element that I'm gonna add to this is 2 teaspoons of vanilla. Now this gives a great flavor to the chocolate covering, and it just ties everything together. So 2 teaspoons of real vanilla, and then you're just gonna stir that really slow because you don't wanna splash it and make a mess. Now the reason why I don't put the vanilla in before is because I don't want the flavor of the vanilla to kind of cook out of the morsels when the morsels are getting like super hot. You know, especially if it's in that double boiler, you don't want it to boil out. You want to keep that flavor of the real vanilla in there because it's just so delicious. All right, so after I mix that in, make sure it's well incorporated, everybody, as far as making sure you get down at the bottom of that glass. If you have this in a double boiler and you have this in like a bowl, then you'll be all set. This looks so great. Okay, so again, nice and smooth. When you take your spatula and bring it up, there's a couple lumps in it. So I'm just gonna keep giving it a stir here. And like I said, if you haven't got all the lumps out of it, just zap it for another 30 seconds or keep it on a burner on low, just until you make sure that it's all just perfect. So this is gonna be so good. All right, I think we're good to go here. So I'm gonna kind of lay this off to the side, and we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna start kind of assembling these. Okay, now I have got another cookie sheet with some parchment paper. I've actually got 3. I got 2 on the back here, and I've got 1 here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take just a spoon, and I'm gonna tap a dollop of the chocolate mixture right onto our little cookie sheet with the parchment paper. And this is a tablespoon, like just a regular kitchen tablespoon, and it's about half full, okay? So I'm dipping about half of it in there. You'll kind of be able to gauge this if you want to use a teaspoon, because if you're just saying, I don't want to use too much, although how can you use too much chocolate? I haven't figured that part out yet. To me, you can't. I guess you could, but not me. All right, so I'm probably gonna be able to get 12 on this cookie sheet, so I may only need two cookie sheets. We'll see. I may have crowded them a little bit, but that's okay. All right, so I've got the first 12 right here. Now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna set that in there because I don't want it to like get all nasty in here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take each one of these and I'm gonna set that down in and just kind of make a little bit, just kind of do this as you put it down, just so that that chocolate just kind of oozes out to the outside edges. Now you don't need it completely covered. The good thing is that it'll get covered as we do the next step here, okay? All right, we're back. This is the final step. I'm so excited. Now I went ahead and just popped this back in the microwave for another 30 seconds, just because it had been sitting here for a little bit, and I want to make sure that it's nice and smooth and just perfect for these. Now I'm gonna go ahead and take a full tablespoon and set it right on the top, all right, of each one of these. Now if you drip over the edge, that's completely fine, all right? So each one of these, like I said, will take a tablespoon or less of chocolate. And this is gonna go all around the edges. And this is very similar, if you watched my Easter episode when I was making those peanut butter Easter eggs, this is the exact same technique, folks, okay? So you can go ahead and you can just dabble it on, and then if you wanna spread it, just kind of put it off to the edge. But you're gonna rely on your little spatula knife here in just a minute to finish this off. So good. I love making these for, like, if we're having a party or to give away for, these are all getting given away. I'm gonna steal one. I will have one. And, but yeah, they're definitely gonna be given away. Now the good part about it is if you have any chocolate left over, folks, put this in a glass, like, canning jar and stick it in your refrigerator and then microwave it, and it's hot fudge. You know, like, drizzle it over ice cream or whatever you want to do. All right, so what I'm going to do now is give it a tap. And then some of it has already spread around. Now I'm just taking an angled spatula here and just kind of going around and just drizzling it. Now if you need a little bit more, just dip it right in here, and then you can go around your edges. You're going to frost around your edges. You don't have to be very careful. What you want to do is just coat it. You just want to give a thin coating along the outside edges. So you don't want too much on there, because you don't want, you know, too much of a thick chocolate overload. But what you're going to do is you're just going to go around the edges and make a nice clean coat around those edges. And if your chocolate feels like it's being too thick, then just pop it back in the microwave for 30 seconds and it'll be perfect. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna keep kind of just going around the edges of these and just kind of smoothing the tops and making them look the best that I can. And then I'm gonna go ahead and pop them in the refrigerator for about 30 minutes. And then when I take them out, we are gonna see the finished product. So you definitely don't want to go away because we're almost finished. I'll see you back here in just a few minutes. All right, everybody, they are out. I left them in the refrigerator for about 15 minutes or so. They're not quite set up yet, but they're close enough. So I couldn't wait any longer. This is just a perfect recipe. And if you wanted to actually pop them in the freezer, it may set them a little bit more. They're really fudgy on the outside because of that sweetened condensed milk. If you wanted them a little more, say, if you wanted them a little more like crunchy, kind of like, not crunchy, but if you wanted the chocolate to set really well, then maybe not use so much of sweetened condensed milk and maybe just substitute a little bit with the milk. It's completely up to you what you want, and you can kind of just play around with this. I really like them fudgy like this, and they have just a great outside texture. So if you were to cut this down in the middle, I want you to see the inside is just perfect. Look at that filling and everything on the inside. It is so wonderful. It's creamy on the inside, nice and cakey with a great chocolate coating on the outside, and everyone should just love them. I would store them in the refrigerator, especially this time of year, and then just let your family and friends enjoy them. So I hope you like the recipe, and if you get a chance, don't forget to like and share and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Last but not least, big shout out to Andrea and Eric Franzen for the great apron that they made me, and I just love it. So thank you guys so much, and whatever you do, don't forget, you make it with love. We'll see you next time.